This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy, and today we're going to talk about the Board of Assessment review and what you can expect from Board of Assessment reviews all across upstate New York. I participated in cases in 38 counties so far as of 2025. And basically, there's one instance I want to draw to your attention that I think is a pretty good example of what is pretty common across this state. It's the town of Cicero in Onondaga County, central New York. Somebody contacted me and had concerns about what was going on in that town. And so I went to a town board meeting in November to see what was going on. They had on their agenda that they were going to vote on approving 2 new members of the Board of Assessment Review. And I spoke up and asked them to table the matter so that we can look into this in more detail. There's plenty of time before assessment season, and which happens in the end of May. So they did table it, perhaps not because I asked, but because they're probably going to do it anyway. But anyway, so I did a Freedom of Information Act request for the resumes of all Board of Assessment Review members and of the any applicants. And I received 3 resumes. One of them was a woman who was a former assessor and a realtor, and she clearly was qualified to be on the Board of Assessment Review. She had a very good lengthy experience. I got the 2 resumes of the 2 people that they were looking to approve. One guy worked for the Air Force. I think he's some sort of equipment technician, for the whatever they have over there, drones, airplanes, I don't know. But there was nothing on his resume to indicate he had any real estate valuation experience. The other applicant appeared to work for General Dynamics in quality control. Again, that's a good experience, but I didn't see anything related to real estate valuation experience. And my guess is that the Air Force wouldn't want me over there working on their equipment. And just as I don't think that somebody who works on that equipment should be coming over here and talking to people like me about real estate valuation. I have 25 years experience in this matter and of a real world experience of what things list for, sell for, assess for, appraise for. I was a state hearing officer for 6 counties for 4 years, and I participated in hundreds of SCAR cases across 38 counties, and probably well over 400 by now. And I would say that those 2 people really aren't qualified to know what it is that I'm talking about. And they didn't give me the resumes of the 2 other people who were already on the Board of Assessment Review, so I have no clue. And and their names weren't on their website either that I could find. So it's just it has the appearance of being some cronyism going on there. So I was going to go the next month to address the matter, and but it wasn't on the agenda. So then I was expecting the next board meeting to be in January, and I was expecting it to be mid-month. But I think on January 3rd they had what they called I forget what they called it, some sort of committee meeting. There was no agenda whatsoever. And but they voted and approved those 2 people. And so I wasn't there because it wasn't on the agenda. There's no reason for me to be there. And I called the New York State Committee on Open Government, talked to one of their attorneys over there, and I asked them about that. And they said if they're going to be voting on something, it needs to be on the agenda. So it appears as though they violated the New York State Open Meetings Law. And so that's a concern, that they just kind of shoo in their crony friends who are not qualified to be on this Board of Assessment Review. And like I said, this is not uncommon across the state. It's just so routine for there to be people on the Board of Assessment Review that have no real estate valuation experience. And it's not just in small municipalities where they might have trouble finding qualified people, but the city of Syracuse, they got a guy who's an insurance broker. He knows nothing about real estate valuation. They got a retired paralegal. I don't know what that has to do with real estate valuation. They had somebody who did contracts with the home headquarters. I don't know what that has to do with real estate valuation. They had a guy who was a professor of visual and performing arts at SU. I don't have any idea what that has to do with real estate valuation. And their chairman apparently used to be a real estate agent or broker. Apparently he's in the financial planning business these days. But apparently he's supposed to be the guy that knows what's going on. But what I found is that he doesn't know the law. He doesn't comprehend what unequal means. He doesn't know what welcome stranger violations are. It's just astounding to me. And he thinks that I'm not qualified because I don't go on my client's properties. Well, the assessor doesn't go on people's properties either. This isn't Russia. They have to value it from the street. And so that's how I value properties, in the same way the assessor does. And but he's got in his mind that you're not qualified if you haven't gone in the house. I'd like him to cite the law that requires that if there isn't one. And the government's got no business even looking at the interior of your property. You have to be careful about giving them data because it becomes public record. But anyway, back to these Board of Assessment Review. It seems like the Cicero Town Board snuck those two people in without the public knowing what's going on, knowing their qualifications or what's going on. And it seems pretty darn inappropriate to me. So I suspect that there's a problem in the town of Cicero. So I'll be keeping an eye on those people and see what it is that they're doing. And like I said, there's the issues that I find in assessment are laziness, incompetence, cronyism, where they take care of their crony friends and stick it to the new people they perceive to be rich. That's a large percentage of my business. And outright fraud. There are examples of pretty major fraud because it's very easy for them to take care of friends and family with just a click of their mouse. So, and they don't like giving up their data. I have problems foiling their data and they want to delay me. But if they do, I'm going to sue them and I'm going to win. So they might want to think twice about that. See Michael Franklin versus the City of Syracuse assessor. And Echo versus Nassau County. Public Officers Law 89.3A indicates they must generate the reports that I request. So that's what goes on in the Board of Assessment Review. The majority of municipalities, Board of Assessment Review members are not qualified to know what it is that I'm talking about. So I really don't spend a lot of time with the Board of Assessment Review because it's a waste of oxygen, basically. There are some good Board of Assessment Reviews. I saw one, they had an attorney, they had a real estate broker, and they had some guy who's been on the planning board for like 30 years. And they seemed to know what I was talking about. So I was very, very pleased to see that. And they didn't seem to be in lockstep with the assessor. I think that they were a legitimate separate appeal. The vast majority of the time, the Board of Assessment Review is appointed by the same people who appointed the assessor. So don't expect different results. So, where you're likely to get away from the politics is at small claims assessment review, because the hearing officers won't be tied in with the local politics and what the supervisor and the town board are doing. And in Cicero, apparently the town board is they want to get rid of the supervisor, and there's just a lot of crazy stuff going on. Allegations that he's taking advantage of discounts that town gets and so on and so forth. But I'm not there for that. I'm there for the assessment matters, and these towns get checks from people for their property taxes, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and and they just take it for granted. But they need to do the assessment job properly. It's a customer service job. The assessor should be responding to the taxpayers promptly, looking into their concerns in good faith, and correct the errors, or if they disagree, politely point them to their appeal options. It's a customer service job. I have no problem when the assessors are inaccurate, but it's when they don't act in good faith that I have a problem. Mistakes happen. Assessments are very difficult to get everything right. It's basically impossible. It's a thankless job, and I respect the job that they do, but they need to act in good faith. And if they sandbag me, there's going to be a war. And I look for towns, particularly towns with relatively high-end houses with high tax rates, with an assessor who's a jackass. I love those kinds of towns. So, anyway, Cicero needs to take the Board of Assessment Review more seriously. They need to actively look for people to be on the Board of Assessment Review that know something about real estate valuation and will act in good faith. It's really simple, just act in good faith, and be good to have somebody that knows something about real estate valuation. It's not rocket science. You're paid to do the job. Do the job. This is Mike Franklin, the Property Tax Guy.